that point of deciding what level of redundancy or resilience you want or need. What that means for redundancy, what that means for your kind of failover logic or targets. And then the kind of return point and return time objectives. It's like, how quickly do you need to get back? How important is the channel to you? Does it have to be up 100% of the time? If there's a failure, is it okay to be off air for a few seconds or a few minutes or a few hours before you get it back up and running? Because as with a lot of things, the focus on this was looking at resilience being your top target. And a lot of the time, especially for live, it tends to be right up there with your highest priorities. But we're seeing other things come into that mix now. There's a lot of talk, there's multiple sessions over the last 2 days about latency being like a higher and higher priority. And one of the things with latency is if the lower you want to get your latency, you do have an impact on how resilient that live stream is going to be. Not necessarily in the sense where it's going to fail, but it's going to give potentially users a poorer user experience because they're not going to be able to buffer content as much. So there's a trade-off when you're making in latency. There's a trade-off you're making in complexity. You know, with the second example I showed you had a lot of moving parts. Monitoring all those moving parts gets very complex. You can build something that's much simpler, but then that will make it less resilient as well. And equally the cost. So you know, you can have 2, 3, 4 versions of something running in the cloud as well as on premises to make it more and more resilient, but then the cost goes up as well as the complexity going up. So all of these kind of factors have to be weighed up to get that kind of perfect solution or architecture for the needs that you have. And then I think these are the questions that you kind of ask yourself to figure out how that's going to work. And the last one I had is just for information. I wouldn't expect everyone to read it. It's just questions that come up a lot is that you've got a target you want to hit. Your live stream wants to be up 99% of the time, or 5 nines is what we hear a lot. And it's hard to get your head around what that really means. And so I've just kind of done the Excel maths to figure out what that means. If you have a target of my live stream wants to be up 5 nines, so 99.999% of the time, that means you're only willing to accept 5 minutes, 20 seconds of downtime in a year. So you have to try and architect to get that level. And if you're going down, you know, that's the differences that you're designing to be willing to accept. But it's like saying that you're hitting 5 nines means, 25 seconds a month is the only acceptable downtime that you're kind of willing to get to. But like I said, most of the time you're trying to hit 100%. So it's kind of gambling on, we've got leg A and leg B. If one of them fails, the other one won't fail at the same time, or I will fix it within 25 seconds, so I'll be back up to 100% before the other one has a chance to fail.